Okay, lesson 4.3. So continuing with arithmetic sequences, so just a reminder again, arithmetic, it's always adding or subtracting the same amount all the time, which means it's a linear function, y equals mx plus b. So we're going to continue in that thing. So again, we're going to focus on the your term problems here as our notes. It says construct an explicit rule in function notation for the arithmetic sequence represented in the table. Then interpret the meaning of a specific term of the sequence in the given context. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is figure out the rule. So what do? We're going to look here, see what's happening in terms of the sequence. So what's happening every time? Every time we are adding 12. Now again, remember that's our slope. That's our slope. So if we're thinking y equals mx plus b, that's our m. So 12x plus, and then we got to find our zero term. This is our first term. So again, to go back to the zero term, I do the opposite here. Sorry, let me shift that back over. So I do the opposite. So instead of adding 12, I'm going to subtract 12, and that would take me to 8. 20 minus 12 is 8. So this is y equals 12x plus 8. Now, that's the equation. We have to do it in function notation. So f of, and remember always look at your variables, this is n. So f of n equals 12n plus 8. Okay, so that's the first part. The next part says interpret the meaning of a specific term in a given context. So it wants to know f of 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find f of 10. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to put the equation in the calculator. So I'm going to go to y equals, I'm going to type in 12x plus 8. Then I'm going to go to my table set. I'm going to put it on ask. I'm going to go to my table. I'm going to type in 10 on the calculator. And I get 128. Okay, so what that means is, in the context of this problem, when I have driven 10 hours, so I've driven 10 hours, then I have gone, then I have gone what? This represents distance in miles from the store after Mila has traveled for n hours. So driven 10 hours, then I've gone 128 miles from the store. Or not I, but actually Mila. So that's what that represents, 128. So I probably should put here miles, my units. Okay. Let's keep going. So here's another one. The table below shows the total cost in dollars of purchasing N batteries. Okay, so let's get our equation first. So let's see what's happening. So these have decimals, so sometimes you may have to use the calculator with decimals, but this one's not bad. Every time I'm adding 4. So that's my slope. So f of n equals 4n plus, get my zero term, so I go back, so I subtract 4, and that's going to put me at 90 cents plus 0.90. So there's my explicit rule, function notation. Then I find f of 18. So again, I go on my calculator, change my equation out now, 4x plus 0.90. Go to my table, type in 18, and I get 72.90. So $72.90. In other words, that means when I purchase, total cost in dollars of purchasing N battery packs, when I purchase 18 battery packs, it's going to cost me $72.90. Okay. The next, your term, says construct an explicit rule in function notation for the arithmetic sequence represented in the graph and use it to solve the problem. So the first thing we want to do, we want to use the graph to get a rule or a function. Then we're going to use that to answer the question. Okay, so what do? I look here, what's happening? Well, one thing we've not really discussed a whole lot is talking about always pay attention to your x's. These are always going up by ones. Now that's important because when you think about slope, slope is change in y over change in x. So if our x is always changing by 1, all we've been doing is looking at what's the y doing. Plus 17, plus 17, plus 17. So we would do 17, which gives me a slope of 17, positive, because it's going up. But this is important too, to always pay attention to. And we've not really talked about that, but it's something I want to point out here. Always look and make sure your x's are going up by ones. Sometimes they may not, so then that's going to change your slope a little bit here. But we'll continue with what we've got right here. So I know my slope is 17. Remember, I need to find my zero terms. I'm going to have to go backwards here, which means I'm going to go down 17. So if I subtract 17, that's going to take me to 17, which would be somewhere like right about there. So that's at the point. I'll write it down here, 0, 17. So my function becomes, in function notation, f of, now it doesn't tell you what variables to use, but I'm going to use b because it's boxes. So f of b equals 17b plus my zero term, which is 17. All right, now the problem says the graph shows the height in inches of a stack of boxes on a table as the number of boxes in the stack increases. Find the height of the stack with 7 boxes. So what do? I'm going to do f of 7. Now I can use the calculator, so I'm going to go to y equals. I'm going to type in 17x plus 17. Go to my table. I'm going to look for f of 7, so I type 7 in, and I get 136. So that would be 136 inches high. So when I have 7 boxes stacked up, I have a height of 136 inches. Okay, here's another one. So let's reinforce what I just said previously. Look at your y's. What's happening? They're going up by 50 every time. So my slope is 50. Excuse me. So f of, I'm going to use, it's using n here, so I'm going to use n, is 50 n plus, now, again, always pay attention to your x's. My x's were going up by 1, so my slope was just 50 because it's up by 1. So again, don't forget that. Look at your x's as well. Now I have to find my zero term, so I'm going to go backwards. So if I go back, that means I need to go down 50. So 250 minus 50 would be 200. So my zero term would be 200. So then that's plus 200. So the graph shows the total amount she saved after each month. What will the total amount Cooney, whatever, has saved after 12 months? So I put 12 in. So again, I'm going to go to my calculator, go to y equals, put my equation in, 50x plus 200. Go to my table, type in 12 for my x, and I get 800. So what will be the total amount she saved would be $800 she saved. Okay, construct an explicit rule and function notation for the arithmetic sequence represented and use it to solve the problem, justify and evaluate your answer. Ruby signed up for a frequent flyer program. She receives 3,400 frequent flyer miles for the first round trip. Now, important things. 3,400 miles for the first round trip she takes, and 1,200 frequent flyer miles for all additional round trips. Or think about that, per round trip. So that 1,200 is our slope. So, excuse me again, f of t, trips, whatever, equals 1,200, and it's positive because they're additional, t plus, now I need my zero term. 3,400 was after the first round trip. So you can think of this as being f of 1 is 3,400. So if I want to find f of 0, my 0 term, I have to do the opposite, which means I have to subtract 1,200 from that, which would put me at 2,200. That is my, y-intercept, or my 0 term, or my starting point. Then it wants to know how many frequent flyer miles would she have after 5 round trips. So I'll put 5 in. Again, go to my calculator, type in my equation, 1,200x plus 2,200. Then go to my table, type in 5, and that would be 8,200 miles. Okay, let's do this next one real quick. The gym charges each member $100 for the first month. Okay, so again, $100 first month, which includes a membership fee, and $50 per month. There's that word per, so there's our slope. So f of m for month, okay, is $50, and it's positive because it's charging, it's adding to m plus, now I need the 0 term. So how do I get that? Well, if f of 1 is 100, then f of 0, I gotta subtract 50 from that. So if I do that, that puts me at 50. So there's my y-intercept. Now I put that in the calculator, go to y equals, type in 50x plus 50, go to my table, and it wants to know for 6 months. So I type in 6, and I get 350. So f of 6 would be $350. So now we're going to do some of the homework problems out of the book to, again, help you on the online homework.